everybody, it's Chef Laura. Welcome back to my YouTube video channel. Thank you for being here. Today we're going to make some banana cupcakes. I love banana stuff, so I thought these sounded like fun. So I spoke in my pancake video about how when I don't eat all of my bananas that I buy at the grocery store and they start getting too brown and I don't want to use them anymore, that I put them in the freezer. So this is a time that we are going to use some of these. So let me grab, in my bowl, I already have 2 of my freezer bananas. And as you can see, this thing looks pretty gnarly. And I'm going to open it up and this slimy, goopy thing is going to come out of it, okay? And that is okay. It is perfect to use for cooking. You certainly would not want to eat that plain, just not because it's bad for you, but just it wouldn't have a texture you would really enjoy. But then I'm going to take a fork and we're going to mash this banana up. You can also use your hands, but sometimes when they've come out of the freezer, I took these out of the freezer 2 days ago and put them in the refrigerator so they had time to thaw. So I'm just gonna kind of smash them up and now I'm gonna just give them kind of a little stir with a fork. I like to leave them a little bit chunky. You could also take a hand blender to this, a little immersion blender, and make this smoother if you wanted to. But that for me is perfect. So we got these, I'm gonna set these aside. Next, we're gonna start measuring our dry ingredients. The first thing we are going to measure is 1.5 cups of flour. So this is all-purpose flour. I'm gonna scoop, I'm gonna scrape across the top, making sure it's nice and flat, and into my nice big bowl here. So I'm gonna do that 3 times because this is half a cup. So 2, and I like to kind of wring the bottom of the container to make sure all that flour has come out of there because it is important. So 3. So 3 of those. I'm gonna set this flour aside. Then the next thing we have is we have a teaspoon of baking soda. So baking soda is gonna help our cupcake rise, right? So we're gonna scoop, I'm gonna scrape flat with my finger and dump that guy in there. I also need a half a teaspoon of salt. So again, scoop, pat that down nice and flat, dump that into my flour. And then I'm gonna add a little nutmeg. Nutmeg is a classic spice to use in combination with bananas. So this I'm gonna scoop, I'm gonna put my finger across the top of the jar, I'm gonna scrape, and I'm gonna dump that guy in there. And that is just a 1/4 teaspoon. The final thing we're gonna add to our bowl here is we are going to add some sugar. I'm gonna do a cup of sugar. These are gonna be nice and sweet. So this is a half a cup, so I'm gonna do two scoops of this. So we're gonna do 1, then we're gonna scoop, we're gonna scrape, and 2, okay? So now that I have my area cleaned up a little bit, I'm gonna just give this a little stir. I just wanna give all these dry ingredients a little stir so everything is distributed throughout. I was gonna say everything comes together, but we're not at that point yet. I want everything to be distributed evenly throughout the mixture. I'm a little tongue-tied right now. Okay, that's good. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get our eggs ready. We're gonna crack 2 eggs into our container, and then we're gonna give those a little bit of a mix. So hit against the side of the table, thumbs into the crack in that egg, pull our thumbs away from each other, and into the bowl we go. Now I'm gonna take my fork, and I'm gonna give these guys a little bit of a mix. So now we're gonna add our egg, add our banana, and we have some butter that I melted too. So this is a 1/4 cup of melted butter. We're gonna pour that in there. Ooh, sorry, I'm making a lot of noise here. And then we're gonna pour our banana, just kind of slinks into there, into our bowl. And we're gently going to use a mixing spoon to get this stirred together. going slow because I don't want everything to end up all over my countertop or my work surface. And once everything starts coming together, we can speed up our stirring a little bit and get all this nicely incorporated in here. I'm going to scrape the bottom to make sure that no dry ingredients are hanging out down there. We like to do that, fall to the bottom, and then when we're scooping, we see that there's a big pocket of something we needed to be in our recipe down there. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to scoop these. Oh, I was looking for a spoon and I was planned and I already got a spoon. I don't trust myself sometimes. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to scoop into these lined muffin tins or cupcake tins. I'm doing kind of smaller, more regular size. If you wanted to do jumbo or mini, that's totally okay too. Whoops, so we're scooping, and I use my finger to push that batter into the muffin tin. And we want these to be filled about 2/3 of the way full. Here, let's get this guy out of here. Now that I have this spoon, I can use that to scrape out that goodness. Don't like to leave batter behind, it's good stuff. We want to scrape our bowl to make sure that, and our cooking utensils, so that we make sure we get enough, as much cupcake as we possibly can, right? You don't want to give up any cupcake. These, once I'm done, these are going to go into a 375-degree oven for about 12 minutes, 12 to 18 minutes. It really depends on your oven. Sometimes ovens cook a lot faster, sometimes they cook slower. So I'm going to remove these extra liners that I have because I just wasn't totally sure what I was going to get. So, and I'm going to put these guys into my oven to bake. So here are our cupcakes out of the oven. I like to give them a little press and make sure that they're cooked throughout and there's no uncooked batter left up at the top here. Okay, so I'm gonna let these cool and we're gonna make some frosting. Now, a classic combo for our banana cupcakes is going to be cream cheese frosting. This happens to be one of my absolute favorite things. I love cream cheese frosting. Anything with cream cheese frosting on it makes me happy. So we need 16 ounces of powdered sugar, which actually also equals 3.5 cups of powdered sugar. So if you don't have a kitchen scale, you're gonna put 3.5 cups of powdered sugar into your bowl. So I put my bowl on here, I tart it to make sure that my scale says 0, and I'm just gonna slowly add my powdered sugar in here until I reach 16. Oops, there. Every cup of powdered sugar weighs 4.5 ounces. So that's a great way to do some kitchen math with your kids. Along with the 16 ounces of powdered sugar, I'm going to be putting 1 brick of cream cheese in there, so that is 8 ounces. We are going to be putting 1/2 cup of butter into our mixture. So that is 1 stick. I microwaved my stick of butter for approximately 12 seconds to make it softer. And then we are also going to do 1 teaspoon of vanilla because vanilla is delicious. Not right out of the bottle. You don't want to drink it right out of the bottle. Not delicious that way. But in frosting, cookies, the places it's supposed to be, it is delicious. Sometimes my students ask me if they can try it, and I tell them they don't want to, and then they do, and then they say, oh, Chef Laura, this is terrible. And I told them, I warned them. So anyway, so we're gonna start by turning our mixer on low. If we turn this up high right away, we are going to end up with a face full of powdered sugar, which I know far worse things have happened in life than a face full of powdered sugar, but it's not what we're going for. We want that powdered sugar in our frosting. So once the cream cheese and butter kind of get broken up in this mixture, you can start turning this a little bit higher so I can see that my pieces of cream cheese and butter are smaller, so it's not going to be tossing the powdered sugar out of the bowl at me. So I'm going to go slow at first still. I'm still just only on 2. I'm going to take this up to 4 now. Still not going crazy with my mixer. If I turned it up high, I would still end up with stuff everywhere. And I love this stuff. I want it to stay in my bowl. So once you see it starting to get wet, it's starting to look all the mixture is starting to look wet to me. Now I can really turn this up and get this mixing. You can hear the mixer is working differently. Now you can hear it in the mixer too. So it's still not soft enough. It's still not fluffy enough. Even though it's combined now, it's not fluffy enough. You could also do this with a hand mixer, okay? I just love my KitchenAid, so that's important to me. So it's starting to stick to the sides now, which is totally fine, but I want to give it a little scrape and make sure everything is good and incorporated. So I'm going to scrape it down one time, and then we're going to mix it again, and then we are good to go. Now, if you really wanted this to be softer and fluffier for whatever reason, you could always add like a teaspoon of milk or something like that. Or not something like that. You could add a teaspoon of milk. That's it. And you could add a teaspoon of milk, just 1 teaspoon at a time until you reach the consistency that you wanted. But this is nice and soft and fluffy. I don't think that's something you should need to have to do, but if for some reason you wanted it a little bit softer, you could do so, but just with milk. Okay, so that's done now. So it's nice and light and fluffy. So now we're gonna frost our cupcakes. So it's important that we scrape off our paddle attachment that we use to make our frosting. Again, this is all good stuff on here. We don't wanna let it go to waste. So we're gonna scrape that off. Okay, so now I'm gonna fill my piping bags. I'm gonna put a piping tip in one of the bags. So I'm gonna cut off the end of my piping bag. Depends on how big the piping tip is. With the teeth of the piping tip facing down, I put it down into my bag and press it firmly into the end, okay? And then I'm gonna I folded the top of the bag back so that it has this nice 3-inch lip around it, okay? I'm gonna put that in my one hand with my hand open like this. So it keeps that piping bag nice and open. Take a nice spatula full of frosting, put it into the bag, use my thumb and my fingers to scrape that frosting off and get it into that bag. Now, I'm gonna press it down to the bottom. I don't wanna put too much frosting in here, especially for kids. It's hard to press this through sometimes, and if the bag is super full, it takes a lot of work, so we don't wanna do that. So then I'm just gonna put a nice on these, a nice rosette. So I go around, stop. Even pressure, all the frosting is beneath my hand. I'm not pressing in the middle of the frosting because that's gonna push the frosting out the top of the piping bag and onto my hand, and I don't want that. So again, I'm taking the frosting, pressing, I make a circle, and then I make a little smaller circle on top, and then stop. So not all of you might have this star tip, okay? This is a is that a 1M? I'm trying to see through the bag. I believe it's a 1M star tip from Wilton. You can also just use a plain piping bag. So I'm not gonna cut off the end yet. Kids love to pipe, so that's why I'm doing piping in this. Piping is fun. And then you can also, as I'm using this plain piping bag with no tip in it, you can also use a Ziploc bag. Okay, if you have like a little Ziploc sandwich bag at home. So no piping tip in here, pressing this down. We're gonna do the same sort of thing with a, whoops, man down. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, there we go. We're doing the same sort of rosette thing that we did with our piping tip, just with the plain tip, and that's okay too. And listen, if all you have is a offset spatula, just spread the frosting onto the cupcake, and that's okay too. These are all things that will work. Just get some on there, that's the goal. And then, to finish this off, I'm going to take the tiniest bit of nutmeg in my hand, the tiniest bit, and just do a tiny, tiny little dusting. Tiny, tiny, tiny. What doesn't taste good in our mouths are just the spices, just plain on our tongue, okay? It just, the mouthfeel of it is strange. So, but I am just doing the tiniest little sprinkle just to give it a little interest on top of our frosting, okay? And let me bring one of these guys closer to you. Give me a second. So see, can you see that? Yeah, there we go. See that tiny, tiny little bit of dusting? Okay, and it just gives it some interest and contrast and some yummy nutmeg on top of here. So anyways, thank you for being with me. Here, let me get down. Thank you for being with me, and I look forward to seeing you on our next video. Thanks, bye.